Live streaming is on.
All right, everybody, welcome to the weekly hangout for the Dalten Collective. Today, quickly, I am going to share my screen in a moment here and just walk through a little presentation I put together basically on the same lines that we've been talking about every week. But I had some additional thoughts. Okay. Oh, I want to present. Perfect. Okay. Can you all see the slides? The slide?
Yep.
Cool. All right. So here we are, Dalten Collective. Awesome. So the hypothesis, what it is that we're doing here, and what's the reason, or what's the why? So we're here to engage in fellowship, which is community, in a sustainable manner. This is the economic part, on our own terms. That's the sovereignty part. So picking up from the very top, the fellowship or community, we've often used the word community, but I think it's a bit overused, and so I'm going with a different word, fellowship. And what does this imply? What does this mean? Well, we are people first. We are primarily a group here to support each other. So that means it has some implications that I was thinking about. Like, once you're part of this thing or part of this fellowship, it's for life. It's for the rest of your life, regardless of whether you're a participating member in, let's say, earning income. You will always be a member of the Dalten Collective. Now, that doesn't mean you can't reject that membership. You certainly can do that and leave. But this is a thing that should be forever. It is a fellowship. We're here to support each other. In a particular way, though, and this is where the hypothesis comes in, that if we do this in a particular way that is sustainable, i.e., a way that actually produces revenue and income and wealth for all of us, that gives us certain affordances. That gives us certain abilities to be sovereign. And that's the last point, on our own terms. So we're here to be together and to share stories and listen to interesting podcasts, especially if quick plug. If you haven't listened to the Tech Wars from last Monday, Rabsif, our very own Rabsif, was on that. Excellent, excellent. So we're here to share experiences with each other, but we're also here to do some stuff, to get some things done. But the way we do that is more flexible than a traditional company would be, where a traditional company is focused on one thing, and the people, if you're not on board, can leave or come and go. Well, here we're more interested in the people themselves in the community, and what we do changes, and that's okay. So later on we're going to talk about some stuff we've been working, or that Rabsip been working on with a hackathon. Stuff like that could come into play relatively soon as a part of a revenue stream, and there could be a very specific group of people working on that revenue stream, and that revenue goes to them as well as to the collective. And you could easily see how this could supplement our own incomes from our own other things that we do, or even potentially in a higher level, be the thing that we use to support ourselves and our families. And again, the fellowship is a global fellowship. We have people from all over the world that think in a similar way, and that's our advantage, where we can pull from. So we're digital globalists, but we think locally, meaning we're all planted in certain communities around the world, and we're very much engaged with those communities as well. And the hypothesis is, if you combine those two things together, that we'd have an advantage over either one of those things. And that's what we're here to find out. And hopefully we can do that in a way such that the software that we use doesn't get pulled out from underneath us, or if we say something that that isn't exactly on the mainstream, that we don't get censored for it. And that's where Urbit comes in, and that's why we're on Urbit, because we need a platform that allows us to do what we want to do, how we're going to do it, in a way that makes sense to us. We need that in order to survive, all those three things. So I have one image that sort of illustrates some of these things, not perfectly, of course, but I didn't want to just talk about this group as being a purpose-driven group, which it certainly is. This is the Fellowship of the Rings from Lord of the Rings. But that each one of these individuals comes from an existing community, right? So the hobbits all come from the Shire, and the dwarfs come from the mines and Moria or wherever. And those existing communities is where they sort of live, right? After the Fellowship of the Rings, Sam goes back to become mayor of the Shire. You know, that kind of idea. So the Fellowship in our context is a bit of a larger context where we fit in. And then what we do is sort of like this group. This group was created to do something specific for a certain amount of time, i.e. destroy, a ring that was going to destroy the world. I don't think we're ever going to have that level of challenge, but there will be groups within the Fellowship that do specific things, but we are all embedded in one group together. So that's what I had for you guys today. I'll stop my presenting my screen here. Let me see if I can. Did it go away from there, or did it come back? Can't tell.
Nope, we see you now.
Okay, good. So that's what I've got, or that's what I was been thinking about. And then in terms of like, what should we do? What are we going to do? I've been thinking about what it is to develop land on Urbit, and I think the metaphor of digital land as being like this address space that we all occupy is a fairly good metaphor. But I think actually for a very long time, most of the land on Urbit is probably not going to be that valuable, because in Urbit, the value of the land is a function of who's there, meaning us, the people. So the Dalten Collective is coalescing around the Dalten Star to manage it, but also to attract and to create value there. That's what it means to develop land on Urbit, is to sort of either bringing resources to bear in additional ways of working together to offer services or content or any number of things. But I think what we are doing here is some of the most practical and furthest ahead in that scope of developing the land. This is an early outpost of settlers who are just got basic shelter right now, but we're moving in a place to where we would have our own culture eventually, and that we would have our own infrastructure, and that we would have our own way of doing things. And this is the very beginning, and that's kind of cool, and that's exciting. And how quickly and how much time it takes to come together, I really don't know. But that's what I've been thinking about this week with the Dalten Collective, coming together to build value around the land that we own together. So with that, let's move on to the next topic we had here. I just had a really quick agenda. Podcast. So I had a podcast last week with Eric Newton. So be looking for that coming out very soon, and that will have a bonus story at the end of it, which will only be available in Urbit itself. I'm going to put the link in the Dalten Collective public channel. So that'll be fun. But the next podcaster I've got scheduled is, he works with the Swarm team a lot, which is a storage solution, kind of